So, Jasper, let's chat a little bit around adversity, challenges, obstacles. Most entrepreneurs, and I'm pretty sure you yourself have run into some very difficult times. So, maybe share a bit with us on, maybe one of the turning points in your life. I've experienced in my life that, there's certain moments during your career, during your time in your business that really prove to be turning points in terms of just like transition, and a lot of those times those turning points come from adversity. So if you're willing to share maybe a little bit of something that really shook your boat, that completely changed your perspective, or maybe grew you as a person, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, like I've mentioned a bit earlier, I've touched on entrepreneurship, and I've been an entrepreneur as well for many years. And probably my very first business, real business as an entrepreneur, was a company in bridging finance, more like a mezzanine finance. So it's loans 500,000 million and up. And we've been registered wherever we need to, been very compliant with what we need to do, and taking first bonds on properties to make sure everything is secure, and having a book of about 20 million rand worth of lenders and mezzanine finance lenders, and also investors, directly private investors that invest with us. And as the economy turned, then everything gets slowed down, and all the investments basically just stopped. People couldn't repay, couldn't get refinance for their business, all business related finance, and the business just really stopped.
Sure.
On almost in a month, it really just stopped. I had a partner at that stage, and he had to move to another country to get obviously work and stuff, and I was here. I had to handle most of the stuff, and attorney that's currently a friend of mine, or been through the process became a friend of mine. He really just handled the whole process together with me, and it was almost a 5-year process to get everything sorted. And it was really, I think that was probably in business wise, it's probably the worst time in my life. Really terrible. I mean, get 20 million rand worth of people that is not very happy because they potentially believe they're going to lose all their money. So you can just take it for yourself. I mean, I can also understand.
Sure, of course, yeah.
So a situation like that, I mean, 2 of the guys actually threatened to shoot me. Luckily, most of it was in front of an attorney.
Sure.
So they probably didn't do it. But I mean, just the idea of getting threatened like that is really not is terrible. And
sure.
It took me to dark places. It really took me to dark places that I don't really want to revisit actually. But through that time, I actually realized, well, not through that time, but afterwards, I actually realized the value in that massive failure. I mean, it was terrible. It was really bad, and I realized that I need to firstly take the lessons from that, what I've done wrong, don't play a victim, and really take my responsibility of my portion of what happened. Don't blame anybody else, and except for my part of the responsibility. Even if I believe, no, I'm not saying I do believe, but even if I believe it was only 5% of the issue was mine, I need to take responsibility, absolute personal responsibility of that portion of my life. But it also taught me, that initially got me into morning rituals, because that was my safe haven of peace in the morning. Because I promise you, at 7 o'clock in the morning, my phone would start ringing, and every person every morning would want to know what's happening.
Sure.
It's really people is hunting you down.
This is 5 years.
Luckily it wasn't 5 years, but it took almost 5 years to get everything resolved and get the property sold. And I mean, a lot of it was people's houses. I mean, I can take full bond on your property, but you're not just going to get your wife and yourself and your family get out of the house. I mean, you're going to fight.
True.
if you're wrong or not, you're gonna fight, and that's what happened. People fought, and I mean if you go to high court, I mean that's expensive. I mean, so yeah, I mean there's a lot of drama around that whole scenario that came on, but for me it was really, I mean, I really felt like I was a big failure, even though I had a very successful accounting practice still, and some other things that really was still going good in my life. That, I mean, you really feel like a failure, and people also let you feel like a failure because they want you to feel like a failure. So yeah,
that's tough, because I mean, I'm just trying to be transparent here and think to myself, like, if I was the guy being dealt the hand of, let's assume I was one of the investors. I mean, you don't know somebody else's circumstance.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think to myself, what must Jasper be going through? How much of this is actually Jasper's fault? All I'm thinking of is myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we do as humans, is we just think of ourselves, or mostly, so I mean, that I can just imagine the persecution or the threats and all the rest of the jazz. That I mean, that must have been really, really tough.
Yeah, and some of those are really, I mean, like I said, the people are really trying to shoot me.
Yeah, that's like crazy.
And it's, I mean, it's next level.
Yeah.
So, but I realized, and my father-in-law actually at that stage was really a mentor for me, because he taught me that's only a job in your day. You need to handle that and be there, handle it. You can't run away from it, but tick it off. You've done your part today, and then you focus on all the positive things in your life, because you've got a lot of positive stuff. Just handle what you need to handle, and then you focus on the positive stuff. And that really changed my mind from being in a really dark place, and really just start focusing on. And the moment I've started focusing, again, like we said about the subconscious mind, the moment I've started changing my focus on positive stuff, now I have a very awesome partner in lead optimizers for the last 5 years probably, and I really appreciate him as being that partner for me. So yeah, I mean, just focus on. I mean, we all go through bad stuff, like I said. I mean, going through winter seasons.
I mean, okay, let's take you back to that dark place. Like what? No, because the thing is, like, a lot of this chat around failure and like difficult times and circumstances or whatever, it's subjective for every person. Like for me, it's different than what it is for you. My child might have passed away. You might be going through a tough time financially. It's different, so, and we're all experiencing different things. But I mean, how did you get to that place where you started telling yourself, like, this is what I now need to do? Like, or I need to turn the ship around now, and this is how I'm going to do it.
So my wife actually sat me down one evening in the living room and just, I mean, almost shook me out of my dark space. And I mean, you have a family, you have so much to be grateful for. You have kids, and that's something. I mean, I have the one boy, and that was really my why, just to change my life around. Just start focusing on all the positive stuff that's actually in my life.
Sure.
But yeah, you get to a point that, I mean, you really feel like a failure, and you need somebody to really just shoot you.
So it's all about perspective, I guess. Perspective is probably the word. I think sometimes we're so caught up in our own, race and goals and visions that we tend to forget about the things that we already have, and being grateful for the things that we already have. I experienced a little bit of the same transitioning through the rugby career, having ended my career in a way that I wouldn't have wanted it to be ended, with all the injuries and, just like all the emotional baggage of why me, and, and then once I started realizing, and that was just, I mean, if you get into that spiral, you would know, it's just like, it just gets worse and worse, and it rains, it pours, and you build up all this toxic, like, energy inside of you, and I guess gratitude, and maybe that's also why it's so important for you in your morning rituals, that gratitude, like it sounds so petty and it sounds so airy-fairy, like be thankful, whatever. But just praying and thanking God for your blessings, and even saying it out loud is surety that you don't miss life. For me, almost to a certain extent, like you don't miss life, you actually experience life in the moment. You're there, you're present, and you're actually aware of the things that you already have, not that just that you're striving towards, all the time, goals, whatever. And that's very, very powerful. And like I said, I think it's different for everyone, because people are going through some serious stuff, and I can't imagine, my challenge is not your challenge, but everybody experiences challenges, and everybody goes to that dark place. And let's be honest, if you haven't been there, you're going to go there.
Yeah.
Because life is life.
I believe, after my experience, I really believe that every young guy, especially every young guy need to go through that process of experiencing that failure and understand that it's really just money. I lost in that whole affair. I lost almost R1 million. And you get the perspective about money, that money is just, money just need to flow. Money is just a means to an end. And you can always make money again. And since then, I'm very weird probably about money, but money is just really just a means to an end, and money need to flow. So some you lose, some you win, some you win, some you lose, and don't focus on this R1 that you lost today. Focus on the experience of the value of that R1 million made me more money, and assisted me to actually add value to other people's lives that's also in that similar situation. I experience a lot of clients that go through that similar stuff, and it's really just my opportunity to give back from my experience to other entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. It's almost like your challenges allow you to mold your testimony, and your testimony, it's like the word says, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the power of our testimony. And the stronger story you have to tell, the more people you can impact, and the bigger difference you can make, and the more you can actually relate with people and be there for people and inspire and encourage people, because you've also been through a certain level of, I'll take for example, there's a person who spoke at our church recently who spoke on forgiveness, and his story, long story short, his sister was murdered by his husband, and he had to get to a stage in his life where he said he had to forgive the murderer of his sister, who was her husband. He had to learn how to forgive this guy, because he was just like, he had this thing he was walking around with of unforgiveness. And the extent to which he had to forgive is like, I need to forgive Charmaine for not putting away the dishes, or petty things like you get mad or angry about, or maybe somebody did you wrong in business or whatever. But now this guy, like, that's like the death of his sister, and he has to forgive that guy, like, and he said, like, literally that he couldn't move on with his life, he couldn't progress, he couldn't allow other blessings into his life if he could not release that. So I guess it's just it's life is life, and I don't know, it's an interesting game. So, but thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being so honest. That's really amazing.
I think people need to be, the moment you go through something like that, I think that's a lesson probably from it, is if you go through that, don't think you're alone, don't think you're the only person that ever failed in something. Especially entrepreneurs, we will go through failures. Probably 1 out of 10 things will work and the rest won't work. Have fun with it. See it as your adventure. Don't see it as don't have the intention of doing anybody do bad things to people. Don't try to intentionally financially hurt somebody. Just be disciplined, respectful, and do compliant in what you do. And, I think do your thing.
We're very good as humans, myself included, to hide things, to mask things. We live in a society where you're always looking at somebody else and thinking, I wish I had that life. Or this guy might be successful. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, like, things are just falling apart in other spheres of their lives or whatever. It's just and we all like that. We all want to portray this this portrait of who we would love to be, or but very seldom are we truthful with ourselves and just honest and authentic, and just go about our business that way.
But when you go through that, get a person that's been through a similar situation and let him be your mentor for a period of time and let him guide you through the process. You don't have to do it alone. And be open to the process of learning and experiencing what you need to experience through that bad time.
And I guess also in business, you're very passionate about community and collaboration.
Yeah.
Where's that stem from? Because we're very also South Africans, I think, prone to, just check you out another minute or so longer before I actually, would give you the light of day. Or, you're very, very passionate about collaboration and working together and utilizing each other's strengths for the benefit of all parties.
Yeah, I think I've started that gift back for entrepreneurs as well. It was really just for small businesses to support each other, because I believe I think it comes from being seeing all kinds of small business owners and really struggle currently in things like BE, minimum wage. They really struggle and they don't. If you're not a certain B level, you can't get certain contracts. That's the truth about it, or the reality. So I believe small business owners, it was never so important for small business owners to actually support each other like never before. And that's really just my passion. I really saw that it's more and more start becoming the case that clients, especially construction and transporters, tend to lose their contracts because of BE levels that's not right, and they can't even get to that levels. And I think we need to let go of our egos again and just support each other. Don't be hesitant. Don't be just because you think somebody might be a competitor of yours that don't want to support him. I believe if you're so worried about your competitor, you're not focusing enough on your own business.
True.
Run your business, even an accounting practice like mine. I run my accounting practice on my perspective, on my way. I think I do a lot of things that accountants don't do. But that's my story, and I've got accountant friends, and we do speak a lot, and we've done conversations together with each other on social media. I don't care. I just run my race, and I'm just focusing on my race and keep value to my clients. And those who need to be attracted will be attracted.